are 2 races into the Formula 1 2023 championship, and I think already we have a pretty good idea of how the season's going to play out in terms of the Constructors' Championship. So today I'm going to have a go at putting the teams in a tier list and trying to predict the championship standings for this season, even though we're only 2 races in. So I'm going to start with Alpine as their first. Alpine is probably one of the harder teams to judge at the moment because they've been kind of all over the place. Their quali has been either very good or very not good. You know, we saw Ocon get a lot of penalties, so I'm hovering them around the B tier. Yeah, I'm gonna put them in B for now. I might move them. This might change. Ferrari, A, I think, in terms of their performance. They are solid upper midfielders, but they do not have the pace to challenge Red Bull. Speaking of Red Bull, I'm literally just going to stick them straight in the S tier. It's pretty obvious they have the fastest car of the season. I don't think that's going to change. I do think they will be top of the constructors' standings come the end of the season. Okay, let's move on to Haas. I feel like they've been almost background characters so far this season. We haven't really seen a lot from them. I feel like they've just been fading into the background a bit, and I'm going to give them a C because they've not really been in the points, and if they have, it's probably been around 9th or 10th. I don't even know what they've been up to so far. You know, they've just been tootling around in the midfield, towards the lower end of the midfield. McLaren, this is an obvious D right now. Unfortunately, they do seem to be lacking the performance that they were showing some signs of improving, but unfortunately right now it's not looking good for McLaren. We even saw last race at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Was it I think it was Norris had DRS on a straight and still couldn't get past Sargent in a Williams. Speaking of Williams, they have shown some promise, and for that reason, I'm very torn. I'm going to put them towards the lower end of C because Albon has already scored a point with Williams, and that's more than McLaren have been able to do. Do I think Williams will be bottom of the standings this year? Probably. But it could well be McLaren. This is a tricky one because I'm trying to predict the standings here, and yes, McLaren have had the worst 2 races. You know what? I'm gonna put Williams last. I feel like McLaren will be able to improve as the season goes on. Okay, I'm sticking with that. Mercedes. Russell did get a podium for about 2 hours after the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, so they're up there with Ferrari as top midfield cars, like challenging Red Bull at the front, but they still don't have the pace. I'm going to say, will Mercedes beat Ferrari in the standings? You know, it's a really tough one to say right now. I'm just trying to think, really. No, I'm going to say no. I'm going to say Ferrari have the second. I don't know. We'll talk about Aston Martin shortly. I'm going to say, though, that Ferrari will beat Mercedes. As of right now, Aston Martin could well be second in the standings, and I'm going to put them there provisionally because they have had the pace to get somewhat close to the Red Bulls. They've had the P3 slot in both the first 2 races. As of right now, they are on track for second in the constructors' standings. However, I don't know if they can keep this momentum up. They're a great team, but they're also a rebuilding team. They're a team that's come from Force India to where they are now, and it's hugely impressive and honestly really great as an F1 fan to see them fighting at the front the way they are. However, I don't know if they can keep it up. A team like Ferrari, they've been doing this for literal decades. They're so experienced. So I'm actually going to put Ferrari in front of Aston Martin and keep Mercedes behind. I do think Aston Martin will be able to beat Mercedes because Mercedes are really lacking confidence in themselves. I feel like Ferrari do have the pace, they just haven't quite been able to unlock it. So that's my prediction for the top 4. I think that's pretty solid. AlphaTauri and Alfa Romeo are my last 2 to sort, and it's going to be a tricky one. I'm going to put Alfa Romeo. Yeah, Alfa Romeo is going to go here. I'm going to put them just behind Alpine. I feel like Alpine are right in the middle. And AlphaTauri, I'm going to put here just after. Oh, but will McLaren I think McLaren will outscore AlphaTauri. I might put AlphaTauri there. I feel like I'm getting close now. I feel like this could be similar to how the standings are going to play out in the end. So I'm going to run through it and see if I agree with myself. So Red Bull would win the Constructors' Championship, followed by Ferrari, Aston Martin, Mercedes, and then Alpine. I'm very solid on that top 5 and I don't think I need to change that. Coming in 6th would be Alfa Romeo. Yeah, I do think Alfa Romeo would beat Haas, just for this season. They've got a strong driver in Bottas leading the team, and Zhou is really improving. He's come a long way from his rookie season already. We've seen him, I think he's already out-qualified Bottas once, which is awesome to see because we know Bottas is a good driver. So I do have good hopes for Alfa Romeo. You know, I feel like they mean a bit of business this year. Haas, they've got an experienced lineup of Hülkenberg and Magnussen. I do feel like they can stick where they are and stay ahead of McLaren and AlphaTauri, so I am going to keep them there. Now this D tier is what I'm going to consider. So these, coincidentally, are the 3 teams with rookies in them. And that does automatically mean they are going to score a little less, just because rookies are rookies, and that's just how it goes. They're obviously not going to be as good as someone who's been with the team for a while, like someone like Norris, for example, or even Tsunoda and Albon at this point, who have got at least a year's experience with their respective teams. So, I do believe McLaren would manage to outscore AlphaTauri. It might be close, but I do feel like McLaren, they're a big team. Similarly to Ferrari, they've been at this for decades. They have all the facilities to try and make back what they've lost. They could well beat Haas, to be honest. In fact, I'm going to put them above Haas. Just because I feel like they can, because again, they've got the facilities to improve, while Haas just do not have those facilities. So while it does seem very hopeless for McLaren right now, I do believe they will pull it back up to where they should be, which is higher up. And honestly, I'm now looking at Alfa Romeo and thinking, maybe Alfa Romeo, I'm going to do it. Okay, I'm going to stop making changes now, maybe. So, Alpine, then McLaren, yeah, I think that is reasonable. Then Alfa Romeo, but I think it will be very close between McLaren, Alfa and Haas. But yeah, I stick with what I'm saying. I do believe McLaren will pull it back. So then Haas, AlphaTauri would come in just above Williams, purely on the car has a bit better pace. And unfortunately, coming in last, we have Williams with my boy Albon and Logan Sargent. I think they'll be in with a better chance than they have been in previous seasons to not be last. They might have a good few battles with AlphaTauri at the bottom. But ultimately, I think there's just not going to be many points positions left for them to capitalise on. And as a result of that, they're just going to end up not getting too many points. So, that is my prediction for the 2023 Constructors' Standings, having only seen the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix and the Bahrain Grand Prix. Obviously, I could be wrong, and perhaps at the end of the year I'll come back and react to this. But for now, this is what I think would happen. And I would love to hear what you guys think as well. So do let me know in the comments what order you would give to predict the Constructors' Standings. I'm interested to hear if anyone agrees or disagrees with me. But I'm actually pretty happy with this. I think this is a very solid prediction. So fingers crossed I get it right and look like an absolute genius at the end of the year. And if I don't get it right, then you never saw this video. And of course, if you did enjoy this, please do like and subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next video. Have a good day, everyone!